Hello, friends. I know it's been a while. I promised the rec video part two, and the holidays came and I didn't get to it, so I wanted to share it with you now. And I have my husband here. Say hi, Regis.
Hello.
Regis is here with me to fill in the details and to correct me where I'm wrong, and I wish he would have been the first time because I made some mistakes. So I didn't remember things 100% right. This was actually an accident that happened on August 20th, 2010. And it actually happened about a week after he left his first rehab. And we're going to talk about that a little bit at the end. So, this was the first accident he had, and it was with his company truck. Most of the other details were right. He corrected me and said that it was only a 50-foot drop off
50.
and not 100, like I said. But so we're going to pick up where we left off. Yes, we had a fight because he was drinking and my big mouth got in the way. I had left you kind of cliffhanging, saying I approached the scene to find him laying in a ditch, and the truck turned on its side and everything spewed everywhere. And I'm going to let Regis go ahead and take it from here to tell you a little bit about what was going on at the time of the accident, how he ended up wrecking, how he kept from going down the cliff, and then I'll let him tell the rest of the story, and then we'll do a little bit of question and answer. Thank you. All right, Reg. So tell us, I texted you, and go ahead and take it from there. What made you lose control?
Well, I'm pulling a trailer, and you were texting me, you were lighting me up, you were angry, of course, and justifiable so. But as I'm texting and driving, and I had been drinking, so shouldn't be driving, let alone texting and driving and hauling a camper behind me. But I must have drifted a little bit to the right, and the rear wheels, or the right wheel of the trailer, slipped off the blacktop, and it went into the gravel, the shoulder. These are country roads, and there really isn't a shoulder. It's just a drop off, and that wheel dropped off, and I noticed that the trailer had dropped off, and I kind of panicked, and I overcorrected to pull the trailer back on, and so in overcorrecting, I turned a little bit hard to the left to pull the trailer back up, and the trailer popped up, but the trailer started to fishtail a little bit. Once I overcorrected and got it back on the road, the camper trailer swung real hard to the left, which naturally is going to want to turn the back end of my truck this way, and I overcorrected again one more time to the left, and it fishtailed back, swung the back end of my truck around like this, and the wheels front wheels kind of went off of the road. I'm turned too far sideways, and once that happened, that side of the truck grabbed, and the truck rolled.
How many times did you roll?
I have no idea. Multiple times. The windows were open on my side, and every time I rolled, I could feel the grass or the dead weeds or whatever that was in the ditch in the field. I could feel it just touch the side of my face every time that truck rolled. We probably rolled about 5 times. You saw the stuff scattered and strewn about. I don't know how far it was, but it destroyed the pickup truck. The camper was in pieces, and by the grace of God, I did not get hurt. I mean, I think I had a concussion, but one rock, one simple stick sticking up something when that trailer would have rolled, and my head laid on the ground every time it rolled because that window was open, and I would but nothing happened.
Well, I want to jump in here and just say it's crazy because when I got there, this ditch, it wasn't very deep, but there were little trees about 3 feet tall growing in this ditch. Had he just rolled over on one of them, it could have pierced through his skull, but God protected him. And that's what I wanted him to tell, that part of the story, because I wasn't there. I didn't see it happen. I just saw what it looked like afterward, and it was a mess. So my son and I and his little friend came upon the scene, and then Regis was there. He appeared to be fine, and it was surprising that he was fine. And I looked down the right side, and tell him what the right side showed.
The right side was an extreme drop off. I mean, we're out. One of the beautiful things about Wilson Lake, you know, in Kansas, you think of Kansas as being very flat, but in this area, um, you know, it's the beginning of the area called the Flint Hills, and so there are some ravines, there are some cliffs,
It was
and some
big.
drop offs, and on the right side of the road there was a very, I don't know how, I think
Steep.
steep. I think Connie had said 100. I don't know if it was 100, but certainly could have been 50 foot and a radical drop off, and you know, again, just the providence of God, you know, just took me to the ditch, and one, you know, one simple correction the other way. If I would have went off of the other side of the road, there's no doubt about it, injury would have occurred. How severe, I don't know, but certainly could have resulted in a fatality, because that drop was very significant. But God took me to the other side and then protected me as that truck rolled.
So, what was your first thought when the accident was over?
When it was over,
Yeah. You didn't have your phone. You couldn't call me and tell me.
I couldn't find anything. It was, I had no idea. I didn't know what I was going to do. I actually was just, I remember getting out of the truck and a car came by to see if I was all right, and I told them yes, and that I had somebody coming. I really didn't have anybody coming, but I didn't want people there. And I was just trying to figure out what my next step was. And I would, you know, after that, things just happened so quickly. It would, I mean, when you're in that situation, your first thought is, how did this happen, or what's going to happen now? So that's probably where my mind was. I can't remember completely.
And so, if you watch the first video, my son and my son was probably, what, if this was 2010, he would have been 7. He had his 8 or 9-year-old friend with him. We were at the campsite already because I was livid. I was angry. I was fighting with Regis. I was texting him. Honestly, he thinks he was reading a text that I sent him. Oh, you know you were?
For a fact, yeah.
He was reading a text that I was sending him in my anger when this accident happened. So there's my big mouth again. And I know you all know I have a big mouth, and I've confessed it before. So we jumped into the vehicle anyway, and we didn't know where we were going, but Holy Spirit had set off an alarm in me saying I needed to go. I wasn't hearing back from Regis. I wasn't getting any texts. He wouldn't answer my call. And that alarm went off and sent me looking for him and led me right to him. And I came upon this accident, and I think my first thought at the time was, oh my gosh, look at this mess. What are we going to do? Because obviously I had the concern about the truck, but at the same time, I saw the cliff on the right, and I wish I had a picture of it, because he would have certainly been dead. There's no way he could have survived if he went off that way. And the road was so thin. It's just unbelievable that he just rolled the right direction. But it's not unbelievable, because we serve an awesome God, and God gave him just enough pressure to wake him up, and not let me suffer the consequences of what his decision was, and not to have him have too many consequences. Obviously, he had to deal with his employer having taken this truck that we didn't normally have. He was able to drive them, but it wasn't his company truck.
It wasn't my truck. It was a truck that the quality assurance manager drove. I have my own company vehicles, and I mean, I was the facility manager, so I can drive anything, but I'm not really supposed to grab a brand new Ford F-150 and hook my camper up and take it to the campgrounds. That's not what those vehicles are for.
And that's what I had said previously. So I said he stole the truck, but he corrected me. It wasn't stealing, but we didn't ask permission.
Shouldn't have used it for that.
We shouldn't have used it for that. And so we had that hanging in the air. But then the next step, this is the part that is also so God. So what happened is we ended up having to call the cops, and they came, and then I'm thinking, he's going to get a DUI. This isn't over. Like, I was panicking. And you were probably panicking too. What were you thinking when the cops showed up?
Well, of course I'm nervous, but I mean, when somebody who lives the life that I lived, it was a double life. I mean, I was a very successful businessman, but I struggled with addiction. So as far as manipulating and playing a part and working your way out of tough situations, um, I was used to that. And so when they came, I mean, yes, I was very worried, but I was going to do everything I could to try to play the part and truthfully get out of this situation with minimal damage. And that's really what happened with me. Truthfully, they asked me if I had been drinking. I told them no, which of course was false. And I think they probably didn't believe that.
Well, tell them who was on duty.
Well, there were two people who were on duty. One of them, I'm not going to use names, but
The little boy with us.
his father, and then a gentleman who worked for me at the plant. His best friend was the first sheriff that was there, and the one who talked to me most of the time, the one who conducted the sobriety, the check on me and everything. So they both knew me, knew who I was, knew my family well, very personal, and so on.
So I totally forgot that he knew the other one. So this might make a little difference in the story. So they asked if he was drinking, and then they got out the breathalyzer to do a breathalyzer on him. And the test results came back showing what?
0.00000. They showed no alcohol whatsoever in my breath.
Okay, and that's what they said. And I remember the little.
He told me it must be your lucky day.
Yeah,
Because
because
he turned around and he showed me the machine and it said 0.00.
Oh, he showed you. Okay. So I was going to say maybe they falsified information, but I guess they didn't, because I do remember later hearing that the breathalyzer was malfunctioning. So I, again, see where God allowed enough pressure to give Regis his wake-up call. But we got out of that without even a DUI. And I say we, I mean, because no matter what, it's not my DUI, but it would have affected me. It would have affected our finances, his ability to drive, whatever else. So God just allowed that much pressure. And so now the next thing I want to say is, a lot of you might be thinking this. I know if I was watching, I would be thinking, you just got out of rehab. It was a 30-day rehab. It was a great rehab. They called him Pastor Regis. He did amazing. I was thinking, this is it. This is my Regis will not drink forever moment. And then this isn't even a week later and he's drinking. And that's why I was so mad. But I just want him to explain why and talk a little bit about why you just got out of a 30-day rehab. Why would you take the drink?